What up, guys? JZNES back again with another video. This time we're talking about Limbo, which should have been before Inside, but Inside was a piece of shit and put its name first on the Limbo Inside thing here. It's actually the Inside Limbo thing, but uh, I'm pissed off because I didn't play them in the right order because it's stupid and the box is misleading. But anyway, this game came out in 2010, so it was like 5 years before Inside. Maybe 6 years. I don't remember. Did Inside come out in 2016 or 15? I don't remember. Anyway, it's a puzzle platforming game, kind of like Inside. I was gonna say kind of like the original, but that's not the original at all. This is the original, if anything, out of the two. So, it's just cool that finally I'm getting to play this first game of the two so I can kind of get a feel for where they were going with all this, because not like the other one's a sequel, but it's like another sort of game similar. It's kind of like Shadow of the Colossus and Eco, where they're different games, but they're very similar in a lot of ways, and they're made by the same developer, so they kind of feel like they're the same thing in a sense. I mean, those two games are very different. These games are actually really similar, although I will say that Limbo definitely did a better job at using the puzzle platforming elements to its advantage. It focused more on those rather than some kind of grander narrative or whatever was going on Inside. So I felt like it was much more focused, and it felt like the gameplay definitely took precedence over everything else. I mean, the atmosphere was definitely there too. So like the soundtrack is very atmospheric. And this time around, I actually, not that I remember the soundtrack, but I can, when I'm listening to it now, I'm like, yeah, this is, I hear it more than tuning it out. In Inside, I don't remember any of it. And, so that's something. I'm just saying, like, the Limbo soundtrack I actually kind of heard during the game, whereas the Inside one, I just kind of tuned it out because it wasn't that memorable. So, not that the Limbo one is super memorable, but it's atmospheric in the right way to where you're feeling what the soundtrack is trying to convey while the gameplay is going on. It's not something you really like listen to on its own unless you're like, just need some background noise or something. But it's cool that it's probably a little bit better than Inside, and that's the game in general. We're gonna be doing some shitting on Inside here because it was a good game and all. Like, it was okay. It was an okay game and all, but I certainly think Limbo is the better of the two because of the fact that it kind of focused on its gameplay and its atmosphere, and it really just tried to do a really good game within these really confined limits. It feels like Inside is they got into their head, they got it big into their head. Like I said last time, this is what I anticipated or predicted or whatever, is that they made this game and then it was a surprise hit because it was pretty cool and it was kind of a crazy indie thing, and then so they're like, well, shit, they'll buy whatever we put out next. Not that they didn't put any effort into Inside, they did, but just like, I don't know, I just feel like they wanted to, they got a little ambitious and ahead of themselves, and a lot of people think that paid off or whatever. I certainly think that it probably didn't in the long run. I think this is definitely the better game by far. So it's just more interesting and gameplay wise because the whole game is like puzzles basically, and they're all like similar puzzles to the other game where you're just kind of pushing blocks and you're trying to get past a few things. And there's this like the main gimmick of this game is there's these little like mushroom things that fall onto your head, and you start going in one direction until you find a way to like either turn around, or there's these things that'll like eat the mushroom thing off your head or whatever, or if you go into sunlight or just light or whatever, they go away. So that's pretty cool. But so that's one of the main gimmicks. Later on, like at the very end, they start doing these like gravity puzzles, which are kind of cool. Um, they're a little mind bendy, and sometimes the timing is just kind of ridiculous. Like this game is like all about timing. Like every puzzle has something to do with timing. One of the very first things you do is you fight this giant spider or whatever, and it's all about the timing. You know, he pushes down his claw onto you, and if you don't have the right reflexes, you're just done for, and you just start over. But yeah, straight out from the start, I thought like I could see the quality of the game more, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm walking to the left, you know, or whatever, or to the right, or whatnot, you know. I felt like I was going on an adventure. It felt more uh, atmospheric and fantastical in a sense. Um, you know, it's nothing grand. It's minimalistic in a sense, you know, because that's what these games are. They're minimalistic, and this game definitely had the whole black and white aesthetic as well. So that's cool. It's a good aesthetic. I liked it. Certainly unique. So that's cool. Um, I think what else? So yeah, the puzzles. There's that's basically it. Other than like there's sometimes, I mean, there's like these electricity things that happen every now and again. There's like floors that you can't step on and stuff, so you kind of have to figure a way around it, and like rope puzzles, all the kind of stuff you saw on Inside. So it's very similar. Um, but yeah, I mean, just like the gameplay was just much more well done than Inside. Inside just felt a little off at sometimes, and it just felt lackluster and just not like there wasn't a lot going on with the gameplay. But here, the gameplay was always interesting, and there were parts where I would think, why is there a box here that I'm pulling out from this thing? Why is this here? Um, and I'm like, I know this game. I know that it's just gonna like totally use this for something later, because you don't just pull out a box to get to a higher spot. It's always something more. There's always a little bit more to that than, you're always going to use that in a minute here until you finally get to where you're going, kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. They're always reusing elements of the level in interesting and then, ways to just make the gameplay a little deeper and a little more well realized. And so that's cool. And the game's only like, maybe 2 or so hours long, whereas Inside could take a lot longer than that. The not the speed run, but the walkthrough that I was going through with was like an hour long. So that's pretty cool that somebody beat it that quickly. But if you're sitting there trying to figure out the puzzles, you probably take a little bit longer, unless you're just really good or whatever. But I certainly wasn't. Sometimes I would sit there and try to figure it out myself, and then I would just look at the guide and be like, okay, well, this is how I'm supposed to do it, because it's not always the most clear how you're supposed to do things, but I think if you're, like, puzzle-minded enough, you might get it. But yeah, it's like, it's just another, like, cool 2D platforming sort of indie kind of game, but very unique. I definitely like it a lot. It's better than Inside and whatnot. But there's not a whole ton to talk about, because it's just a brief game that you can kind of get over with in 1 or 2 sittings. I did it in 2 sittings just because I kind of got to like the halfway point. They also have the chapters again, to where you can just kind of load up a checkpoint. It just auto saves too, but you can just kind of load up a checkpoint from whatever point in the game you want, which is pretty cool, just like Inside. So but yeah, between the two, if you get this collection, it's touted as like, hey, you can play Inside now, or whatever on PS4. I think it was just on PS4 anyway, but you can play it with Limbo. You get Limbo in the package. It's physical or whatever. I think they maybe downloadable before, but it's really more so. Man, this goes up and down. All right. It's really more so, I would say worth it for Limbo. If you haven't played Limbo before, I would, out of the two, if you're gonna play these 2 games at all, I think Limbo is definitely the better experience. But if you play Limbo and then you want to play Inside, go ahead and play Inside. It's you're not out too many hours if you end up going through, or you don't even have to finish the game. I just usually do finish games because I want to kind of have a full opinion on them or whatnot. Even the sort of baddish ones like, like Beyond Two Souls, I kind of finished that just because I needed to make a good opinion on it. So, there's a lot of problems with that game. I don't need to get into that one again, but I don't even know if I'd call that like a bad game. It's certainly bordering on it, but part of it was my fault too. So that's not relevant though. What I'm saying is, and I wouldn't call Inside a bad game either. I would say it's fine. It's okay. It's just there's not a lot that's super memorable about it to me anyway. Now apparently I'm wrong because everyone is giving both of these games 10 out of 10 and whatever and 5 out of 5 and all that stuff, and whereas Inside I didn't really understand and I couldn't really see that. I could understand and maybe could see Limbo for certain people being a 10 out of 10 kind of game. And the fact that it came out in 2010 is a little more novel. We didn't really have as many side-scrolling platformer kind of things then. The retro boom hadn't really hit fully again yet. It was there and it was happening, but we weren't in the peak of it like I think Inside probably came out a little bit after the whole, the boom was still happening now. I mean, retro video games have gone through the roof, but it didn't feel as novel in 2016. In 2010, it definitely felt like a more unique game. Limbo would have felt like a more unique game, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. So, it's not even 2010 anymore. It's 10 years out from 2010. But my point is, I still feel like it feels like a unique game, in a sense, if you're into kind of a side-scrolling platforming thing and you're willing to do some puzzles, if you like kind of sort of puzzle things where you have to kind of figure out how to progress and whatnot. And I like those kind of games, I'm not always the best at them, like this game, but I try to figure it out, as best I can. I mean, my favorite game is a 2D platformer, technically. I mean, it's 2.5D, but it's similar, in that vein, so... Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good game, and Inside was not as good as this one, and that's about all I have to really say about it, because I can't really think of much else. I mean, it has good atmosphere, has, the soundtrack goes with the atmosphere and the backgrounds and whatnot to create a not a vibrant world, but a memorable one, or an atmospheric one at the very least. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and so yeah, I'm gonna give it a 7.8 out of 10, and out of 10 again. I always have to make fun of that every time. Out of 10, and then that's gonna be it, because that's all I gotta say about the game. There wasn't a lot to say. It's Limbo, and it's pretty good, and you should play it. If you're into the sort of side-scrolling platforming things and you think it looks interesting, if you're drawn in by the aesthetic or the concept, or if you watch some gameplay and you're like, oh, this kind of seems cool, go ahead and play it. You can maybe skip Inside, or you can play Inside if you want. I don't care. That's up to you. Maybe you'll find it to be a way better game than I did. So, short and sweet to the point. This has been JZNES. Saying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games. I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ out.